You put this on and I'll go.
Oh man, you're
for us one time.
okay. So leveraging, I think it comes down to number one, when you're messing with any kind of finance, especially conventional, even or not, even hard money lenders, it comes down to your how's your relationship with them. I'll have a lot of people that love to run these these electronic underwriting companies, Lending Tree or whatever you find online. The negative of that is even like big banks, half of them don't have underwriters. They use electronics for almost every mortgage, almost every kind of conventional signature loans to whatever. But the idea is, what I mean is, when you do a web request for something of credit, you just got submitted through the normal check and balance system, and so that's why almost everyone gets either high interest rates and bad offers, is because they think it's easy. But what you really need is a person-to-person type situation, a credit union, a banker. I try to make presences instead of going through my drive-through. I go inside so that I can, hey. So when I have problems, I solve them really easy. They think just because I'm there cashing a check, I'm doing business, and that's what they're in the market of. Same thing when they're out for loans. So when you go into your banker or to get a loan, such as to leverage your properties, and I deal with banks, I don't see people, but I'm on the phone, I'm in email a lot, so I think it's really good to have the relationship ahead of needing the leverage. Okay, now you can do that short term. The best thing is always mention who's handed you off in the email chains, who you've talked to. It helps to make them feel that you're part of the network. You're not just hey, I need a loan, wasting my time, I'm going to underwrite you, and then you're going to go on down to the bank down the street. The other thing is credit unions have different rules than banks. And remember, commercial loans are different from mortgages, or a lot of the hoops you don't have to jump through for commercial loans. When I go to purchase a property, I don't care if it has a house on it, a lot of times I go after a commercial loan, not a mortgage. If they want to put a mortgage on that house, great. We'll work that out in the details. Up until that, it's just considered a commercial loan. I'm going to put 20% up is what I figure, and then closing cost. And by saying commercial, it's not a business loan, which is really hard because you got to build a business entity. Okay. The other is, if you have the commercial loan, it's a lot simpler the next time. And you can stretch those things out to 15 years.
So it's actually in your personal name, though.
Yes, or you can move it into your LLCs or your escrow. But the idea is that's your banker or your credit union. They have different rules. Some do commercial loans, some do business loans, some don't. Most all do commercial. But people don't know how to ask for a commercial loan. We say, hey, can I get a loan? Well, they look at you as a normal loanee, not an investor. So you're going to go in and get the normal, we're going to run you through FHA, we're going to try this. See, most of the time it's a survey, maybe if they think the value's not right, they'll maybe throw an appraiser in, but it's in their benefit to get it appraised up so that they get what they want. Now, you're after leverage. So let's say you own your property. House? Okay. The house situation is really easy. You can leverage 80% of your house's worth right off of the tax value at your county appraisal district. So you don't even have to go see your banker. You could pick up the phone, call your local credit union, whoever, say, hey, I want 80% and a commercial loan of this X property. They'll say, okay, well, do you want to do an appraisal? Or sometimes you have to throw this out there, but you can. There's two options normally with them. One is a appraisal value, which means they're going to come out, check your eaves, check your septics, whatever, right? So they're going to check the plumbing, cracks in the foundation. Most of the time, investors need to leverage it because they need to use some of that money to get some money back out of their property by reinvesting it. Well, when you go back with an appraiser, now they're working for the bank. And so they may be a little bit more difficult, and you're just trying to squeeze out, what, 10% more out of what the appraisal value probably is. Now, Winter and I are really bad about keeping our tax values really low. Okay, and if you're not, you need to get into that, and it's very easy. We should really throw a class on that and let you do that. So so fighting your taxes, and when we say fighting, it's really just filling out a couple little, signing a piece of paper. You can almost handwrite anything. I'll let him get into the details, and then you keep your taxes low. And after you do this 2 or 3 years, most of the time they don't even bother with your taxes. You're wasting their time. They get to see you, they don't want to see you. So anyhow, so now if we keep our values low, it's not a big deal. It's not worth the $800 or $400 in an appraisal to get somebody out there to get that little extra percentage. I'm leveraging it anyways. I don't care. I'm going to keep leveraging it every time the equity gets back in if I'm a buy and hold. So I'm going to keep my dollars in there, and I'm going to constantly take the dollars out and repay them with dollars that are less valued, right? So and interest rates, get them now. Interest rates are going up. This is Trump era, 10 years at least. So foreseeing that, it's really good to leverage your property. So you pull 80%, it's going to cost you, and here's the thing, some do titles, some don't. Some just ask you for the deed, some don't. I sit in my house and I can pull the deed electronic. I print it out for $3 and I email it off to them, and I got $100,000 in my bank in 3 days. It was totally tough. So that's how you leverage that money back.
Got a question for you. I have a fairly, to me it's large, 401k, and I'm at the age now that I can pull money out of that to go buy another house. Would you do that?
Ooh. See, you live in a different era than I live.
What's the fee?
I don't like paper. So you're getting into, you're going to pay the fee, which your age is a deal there, right? So you passed all those penalties.
I would just pay the normal 20%.
Yeah, see, that hurts. See, that's why IRAs, there's a lot of other things. See, we're talking about retirement paper. There's another good one. We could run through is a little bit on retirement papers.
When would you do it? When would you not do it?
With a Roth IRA or self-directed IRA.
Yeah, and that way both of those are really good. Roths, they both have both have good advantages in both. It depends a little bit on ages. It depends on. I love those. I love Roths, but there's benefits. It's age. It's when you want to pool. See, we'd have to write those out as those benefits and those cons, but when you guys actually understand those, you can use those you use those, the money, you keep them in there and you just use them as a place to put your cash tax-free, but you buy your real estate with that Roth account. Okay?
I have one Roth and one's another account.
And if you're not going to pull it, then you don't need the other IRA where you get benefit, you get all the hurt pulling the money. You just keep it in there and it just keeps rolling.
Are you self-employed? Are you W-2? Or
No,
how are you contributing to this?
Yeah, that's a good
It's not
question.
being contributed to at the moment because it was contributed to through my work.
Okay, so you either retired or you left.
Yeah.
And so did you have to move it from?
One place to another, yeah.
Okay, so you can roll that over to a self-directed IRA.
Sure.
But it'll be a set and it'll be tax-free. So you could roll that over into a set IRA, self-directed, and then you can do that. You can do pretty much whatever. You can buy promissory notes, basically what we were talking about earlier. You can buy real estate with it. You could loan it to anybody in this room at an interest rate.
Yeah, and exactly.
So you pay it.
It goes back
to a
into
custodian
the.
because your hands can never touch it.
Correct.
And it can't go into your bank account. So there still will be a custodian. So you can just pick up the phone and.
But you have those, whoever's managing that for you.
You can say, hey, do you guys offer a set IRA, self-directed? And they either say yes or no. Okay, if you do, I'd like to roll this into self-directed so I have more control over where my money goes. Because I don't know that, it's not so much that I don't like paper, I just don't know that much about it. And I'm not going to sit and research it.
I have a guy that
I like
wrote a
real
great
estate
book.
more, and I can put my hands on it.
Give me that name and I'll.
Yeah.
The thing of it is that the money's sitting there and it's gaining a certain percent, but I really feel that I would make more money off the rental property because once I go buy a rental property, I do all my own work as far as refurbishing it, and I save a lot of money that way. I could take a house worth 30, 40,000 and turn it into 100.
Okay, so real quick on the self-directed.
You can't do anything.
There are rules and
you can't.
regulations That the SEC do regulate, and you can't work. You can't go.
You don't want
there
to anyhow.
just-
You don't want to anyways.
Right.
You'll do that a couple times and you'll get tired of it.
The seller in the end of the contract hired me as the person to fix the house to make it available to be sold, right?
Okay.
And I could live in the house while I fix it up, and the loan was for me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are ways. That's what I mean. There's a book and I go through it. I talked to, in Chicago, we talked a big deal over IRA this last year, and so Roths are neat. So you can leverage that stuff. You can move those 401ks, but we'll see. That type of paper, though, there's not as much going into that any longer. And as we all know, if there's not investments coming in, then it's a Ponzi scheme headed out. So use them, because eventually, no matter what, with time, they're gonna go a different direction. It's just the natural way of things, you know. So and millennials are not going to do that stuff. Their patterns are not going to do that. So first off, they're going to be contract. They're never going to be real employees. You know, there's a lot of that stuff's changing. So and businesses aren't here for 50 years, 100 years any longer.
Right.
So, but back to leveraging. So let's say you did have a couple properties, or you got a couple more rentals. In fact, the properties I leverage are normally purchased at, I probably make 50% or more when I leverage. And that's not including the 20% I couldn't get. So if that's the case, you can start buying on leveraging. You can actually go and look at appraisal values, look at purchases, and know that you can pull that equity and leverage it back. And that puts cash right back into your pocket. But you got to be, mindset to make those strategies and keep those renters, keep that system going. And it works. Because even if you do pay things off, everybody wants to buy and eventually get infinite return, you're going to find that that cash flow is there, but now you just have equity sitting there and you're never touching it. And those are, but if you use other people's money and grab that equity for a minute, you still own those bricks. So you've got to get your head wrapped around that just because someone gave you cash for it didn't stop, you still own those bricks. That's why it's called foreclosure. Right? It's not a car. So that if you can understand that and change the process, you can leverage anything. And you'll start thinking of how, even when you're making a deal, doing your purchases, what your leverageability will be now and in your future. So it's always good to get the money out of it, and sometimes it's almost as bad as putting it in a savings account. But you have to be a buy and holder. You have to see the long deal. You have to see either a 15-year out or 7, whatever you set it up. And then you have to, you can cash out at a higher deal. I mean, so there's a little bit, but it's all work. It's all there. If you are going to improve it, well, then you can grab equity just by doing a few improvement values and make something grow even quicker. And then you do that appraisal again and even leverage more money back out again. But another good is a hopscotch game where you take one property, leverage it another, then eventually take that equity out of that property and pay the other one back. And that's how you kind of took two pockets and made one. And if you can do that more than once, there's a lot to scrape off the top. Plus, you're taking care of loans and you're building your loanability. What that credit available is. You're not an 850 with only $10,000 loanable. you're at an 850 with 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 available. You know, so a lot of people love that credit score, but that's another thing. The credit score is just a number if you don't have what somebody might loan you. You know, I'm good for $10. I've proved that 100 times, but am I good for $1 million? You know, just because that credit score says the same, it's not the same. So leverage that stuff, and you work with credit unions, work with local banks that are, and state banks are better. Things that haven't really gone outside national or multi-state. You tend to have better policies working within the state you're purchasing, better relationships. Well, they're in the business. Remember, those guys aren't spooky. You know, the guy coming in a suit just because he's all old and frail and white, you know, and he's just a salesman. He just doesn't get out much. He needs a tan, and he wants to sell you so he can make money because he cannot loan on, you know, that's how banks make money, is by loaning multiple times, right? And then they don't like mortgages. So see, finding banks that have good mortgage status aren't just like car loaning credit unions or banks. You know, you don't want to see a lot of car lots popped up by your bank or in their lot, in their car deal, because that means they're holding a lot of money out in this bubble of car lots, you know, the car zone. I would say find somebody that's maybe has investors locally, but sometimes that's too small. You know, they go through the ebb and flow with the energy cycle. Sometimes you need them just a little bit more spread out, multi-city, so that they have farms and different tertiary wells, different primaries coming in. So, and it doesn't hurt to ask your bank. You know, you guys got good funding. You know, and they post it sometimes. So, anyhow. We probably need to eventually make a list of good good contacts for banks and credit unions, what some of us have used them for, because that's another way to instantly get a good relationship. If I hand something off to him and he hands something off to me, or vice versa, we just cut through the gatekeepers, we cut through a bunch of the preconceptions. Now they're not going, well, can I get a check stub from you, sir? No. We want to send you our, you know, our little paperwork that tells you everything we have, all what we're worth, you know. So, and you know, send them our POS, and we're good. So, PFS, same thing, same stuff. Yeah, write your cars down. They love that. You know, write your travel trailers down, write all that crap down. They like that. So, and once you do that, it cuts a lot of that out. You know, and I love sending my packet because now they don't have anything to ask for. Normally they're running into problems on their ends and I'm helping them fix their stuff. So I'm at the title company going, hey guys, what? Why is everybody wanting to go, let me read it, you know? And then we sit down with the president, the lawyers, and things happen, and then we walk out because it's perception. Sitting here, it doesn't always get it. Coming and saying, yeah, I think that sounds right. You think that sounds right? Yep. You think that sounds right? Yep. Okay, put it through. That's perception. You know, everybody runs yellow lights nowadays. Used to, that made us stop. So perception.
That may just be speed up now.
Yellow, oh boy, very good.
I'm used to stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's it. You know, you can leverage your properties. You know, it's good to do, in my opinion, if you're out to make something. And I hate to talk. I like to see patterns, and I like to see where you're at. And I'm going to say you're probably only about 30 years old. So, you know,
With a couple years experience.
if I was in your shoes in some sense, I would leverage, because that dies with me. Okay, there's other ways of looking at it. You know, not that I want you to die anytime soon, sir. I want you to have a great, prosperous, have some wealth, see how far you can see yourself, and that's true wealth. So see how far you can see, and sometimes you got to put a little in your pocket, but try to not keep that there too long. Try to put it back in something else that you can leverage to get that back out of, or get some cash flows at the same time. Any other questions? Because I'll rabbit hole off of one question. Sorry, Lee.
Tell them about credit cards and the benefits.
Man.
I've used my credit card for years, and he spoke probably a year and a half ago, and he told me some stuff I didn't even know about loan credit card.
Oh, a little fresh. Okay, so FICO's. Yeah, I'll send everybody the PowerPoint real quick. No, the credit card. So I have an 18-year-old. I also have a 7-month-old. So yeah, God has humor. So my ego didn't hear that. Check. Threw that out. No, yeah, God has humor. Yeah. Or he knew I needed to stick around a little longer here, which is not bad because I was about to go all over the place. So, so I have 2 girls and 2 boys, 18, 17, 14-month spread, and then a 9-year-old spread, so 9 and 6. So anyhow, so I get to teach my 2 boys and change their thoughts of, hey, get a job, get a good education, get a good career, go buy your job, get the best job you can buy, and then hopefully that works out for you. Invest, save, live long and happy. So I have to change their thoughts. Now the little ones, which the young one, not yet, she'll probably control the empire, but the middle one, she is very easily to understand what credit things are because she works with digital coins, in her video games. She messes with a lot of things and never touches a dollar. My boys, on the other hand, I have one who thinks he'll never need a job to get an asset, and that might work. And then I have another one that thinks he needs to work his butt off to get an asset. So I have, as ones will say, like knowledge on ice, right? And then what's the other one would be ignorance on fire, right? So kind of a little both of me. You run in, take care of things, or somebody just sits back and thinks about it all day. So it never moves. So credit, though, is really hard to teach the 18-year-old that he's going to need years to build credit reference. So how do I get an 18-year-old credit? And so this is something that I've had to kind of learn because I wasn't sure how to build him credit. So I knew it was coming. So what I need to do, if I can work with him, I don't want to just go get him a credit card or tie him to one of my accounts, because I could do that and I could kick him up really easily, but Dad's not dumb. And I know eventually I'll have to sever that, and when that does, that will be his oldest card. That'll hurt him, plus I don't want to sever it because he abused it. But that would give him a leg up, and I've helped certain family and cousins do that. But and if you don't know that, that's what you can do. So when you do a card user, that actually ties them to your credit account and increases their credit availability, credit status. So anyhow, so I take this 18-year-old, what I have to figure out though, is how am I going to set him up something where he has at least something going without paying, getting a credit card that's going to cost him $200 a year. I mean, basically it for the rest of his life, because they won't ever change that. Some of those cards can't be negotiated off of their fees, okay? Other cards you can negotiate, and I recommend you doing that every 6 months to a year. Call your cards, negotiate your interest, negotiate your fees. At least what they're going to do is take a fee off for a year. They're always going to do something. So it's worth doing. A phone call, a few minutes. So what I need to do with him is put him into a bank with a CD. And a CD would be something like $1,000. He gets, 3.75%. And then I can use that to leverage against a credit card for him. Or leverage that as a signature loan. But it's a way for him not to be able to touch it, spend it, and it instantly starts that that cycle in his first year of 18 of years. So I've been thinking about that, and I've had to get deeper into the FICO 3.0 system and find out where and what it takes to kind of get some of these smaller cars to get kicked off. So the FICO, though, everybody knows, you see what he's on commercials, and this has increased. They're now selling FICO scores, right, on commercials. I mean, get your FICO and then get your protection and get your monitoring service, etc. Right? So when companies start selling something that's free, which is a FICO score, that has to be something. So you have three, really four, but there's three that most people really understand, the three credit bureaus, and those each have their own company now that does credit algorithms to try to give you a FICO score. That's why you might go to Chase and get a different FICO score than you got from your Capital One. And the reason why is because FICO has now changed. Used to, it was kind of based across how often do they pay, how soon do they pay, and how often do they spend, right? And that's really what the algorithm kind of started with, or the thought. So they built that FICO so you could go, grandma could go buy, her bedroom suit, and she could make the call, and Montgomery Ward's would give them that, and off they'd go. Well, no, that's no longer done that way. And the reason why is because not everyone, well, we live in a capitalist environment, or do we live in a creditism environment? And that's where we are now at a fulcrum. We still have capitalism, but we have creditism. And so creditism now has to be changed to keep currencies. And the only way to keep currencies moving is to give out currency, because we have a lot of it in our system. So you can't just give that out based on this system that's old, because it takes at least 5 to 7 years to get credit. So you can't buy a car when you're 19. You can't get that Escalade when you're 25, right? So you can't go and get utilities even nowadays because we're based around credit. So everything had to be manipulated to work with retail business and to keep things moving. So let's take, I'll use it as an example. Sorry. So he maybe goes and buys cars all the time. So they built the FICO algorithm around people that buy cars, people that buy furniture. But he's terrible about making his mortgage. He's terrible about making his utility bills. He's terrible about making everything but his car payment, because he's totally about his car. So the FICO score takes that into understanding and just says, well, when he goes to cons, he gets and gets 18%. When he goes to Sewell, he gets 4%, and he gets to drive away for nothing, right? So why is that? And the reason is because the algorithm is now doing what your spending patterns are. And if you don't do real estate transactions, you don't do loans that get you, different, if you're not feeding your credit with these different purchases, they will not build that credit algorithm to help you. That's really the logistics of it, I guess. Yeah. Well, they don't want you to know that. So, and then, they are now selling that FICO stuff. Also, here's the best one I love, and it's come back around. You guys, y'all are investors, so we need to get insurance that watches our deeds, right? So if there's anything that happens with our mortgages, our deeds, we'll know about it. I don't want somebody filing something at the clerk's office, a little of this, a little of that. Next thing I know is I've got a loan, an equity loan on my house that I didn't know about because someone stole my deed identity. Well, first off, that can happen, but it's BS. So there are companies that constantly watch the online, because your clerks now digitize everything. So you go to governmentrecords.com, whatever, and that you can look up your deeds. You can see your, the liens, see what the filing order is. So you can look and see who and what's going on with that real property. So when you go through that, these companies now are going to charge you $50 a month to watch your deed. So if anything gets filed at the clerk's office, which is a good thing, but there's a lot that sounds really good, but they really had to have stolen your identity Because you can go and file some of that, but when they get to the loan side, all that kind of stops. There is no way of really leveraging that out without having your social, having other things. Make sense? So, but that's another credit monitoring thing. And your FICO credit monitoring stuff, those people are not going to save you. If you really, there's only a couple real insurances, and most of them are actually through your insurance companies you buy your cars and home and mortgages through. If you go to Experian, it's strictly with Experian. They're not going to fight the other two credit bureaus for you. And they will not, you get more assistance through your credit card company for fraud than you do through them. We give our social security number out for almost any and every purpose. I mean, utilities, we're on a different security deal to where something's on the horizon of the social security number, license number, and something that will keep that from happening. That's why we're having credit card companies hacked. We're having social security numbers that are tied to those theoretically hacked. Net neutrality then came back up about, and net neutrality, with the reins off, actually with net neutrality, you actually have companies that will secure that. Just like companies created virus protection for us. How many people get viruses? Everybody's going, I do. No, you don't. You get malware, because viruses no longer exist on our planet, on the network, because they all came through email. Well, administrators stopped all that. So no longer are there viruses, you have malicious programs. Well, things will be created. And right now, things are happening so that protections are coming up. They're needing to sell you FICO stuff. They're needing to sell you FICO insurance. They're needing to sell you ways of monitoring every document that is out there that has something tied to your identity. Now, I'll tell you the best way: lap them up in LLCs. That's how you keep all that crap from happening. They can't steal an LLC's identity. How often do you hear about that? You hear about businesses having the businesses stolen? It's just, you can't. So have the credit score understanding, though, that if you're not feeding it, you're just buying cars and furniture, you're not going to get a house loan. But commercial loans don't go against you like a mortgage or like uncollateraled loans. Revolving accounts, big third, right, of your credit. But when you add a revolving debt, that affects your credit score way more than once you get over about 30%. We've talked about that. Stay under 20-25% if you can on your credit cards, but you need to go up into that ever so often and back out. And every so often you need to max them out and then bring them back down too. And that's hard, but sometimes you just need to pay everyone's bill and take their cash. Right? So there's a lot of ways to, instead of paying through the debit card, pay through your credit card. You get more securities. I guess I should talk about that. So let's say you're wanting those commercial loans. Talk to your bank. That helps to get you that. Then that gets you another credit card. I recommend doing all your credit stuff at one go, because it takes 5 to 7 years for things to roll off, 2 years for inquiries. If you do them all at one go, you can. And here's the thing: you need to read your contracts with your banks, with your companies, but there really is nothing that says you can't go and take a loan out from this guy and take a loan out from this guy at the same time. Not on the same thing, but at the same time, so that you might not get that signature loan, let's just say, that might help you take care of the property you just bought. If you waited a month or two and let that loan hit, then maybe you're offset too hard and you haven't had enough time for the flow of your credit score to go back up. So now you can't get a signature loan. Now you've got cash going out and you can't fix anything. So the best thing is to do everything at one go. And if you're building credit, like you're really trying to make big steps, the best thing is to get a lot of things at one go. Credit cards, increase credit card limits, make those phone calls. If I'm going to take out a big commercial loan, I know I'm going to be into it for a couple years. It's going on a conventional loan. I know it's going to hit. then my procedure, depending on what's going on, I will take out that loan. I will go ahead and set up another whatever finances I think I need to get the property produced. And then I will call all my credit card companies and have them try to increase the limits and try to take on a new credit card company if possible. So now what I've done, I may have hurt myself for a moment. It was going to happen anyway. But at least everything falls off at almost the exact same time. So I'm not having it stretched. Let's just say it's a 5-year thing or a 2-year thing. Well, if I stretched it out and waited 6 months, now I got 6 months added to that 2 years, or vice on and on and on. Do y'all get it? So if I do it all at one whack, it's done, it's over, and we're on with our way. Credit card increases now increase my revolving debt. And if I increase my revolving debt, that offsets my credit loanability. So now, instead of that new purchase maybe hitting into that 30% of my available credit, since I increased everything, now that's actually higher. So that threshold's been increased. So every time I go after loans that are going to affect me, I try to increase everyone else's loaning to me. So, and most of the time it's just a phone call. Now the 2 questions you need to ask when you do call for places, are you going to cold hit or hot hit my credit? And if they don't know what that means, you need to ask for a supervisor. And the reason why is because it's just like AT&T did it to me the other day. You know, and I've asked the question, are you trying to get a new business line kicked in? Anyhow, make one phone call, try to get it done. So you're going to hot hit my credit to turn this phone on. Because I don't use AT&T. I've always used other, companies. So, oh no, we're just it's just going to look in our network just to see if you have a bill that you've never paid within our network. I said, okay. Because I don't need a credit hit for a telephone, right? I don't need hurt for 2 years from you. And what they do? I'm watching my credit, boom, hot hit. So, now I can call and I can probably get something done through it, but since I didn't have it, it didn't really affect me. A couple points went down. I think I'm back up now this month, whatever. So, but I would have been upset if I was right in the middle of a deal. I was right in the middle of a conventional loan. This was happening. That would have ticked me off, and I would have been, at AT&T, because it affects me for time. And guys, I can't make any more time. So even though I try to acquire my time back via currencies coming into me and my investments, I don't want to waste time doing investments, right? Lawsuits slow me down, right? Licensing slow me down. So if you can cut all that out, it helps. So now credit cards, 30%. So keep a few rules. Don't try to keep them under 30%, right? How much money you have on them. Swipe them at least every 12 months. Another story. But and here's a good way to do it. You don't have to go buy the Snickers bar and then forget to pay, and now you paid $20 in interest and forgot about it. Just when you're at the gas car, you're getting gas and nobody's around and it's no big deal. Just swipe every card, hit cancel. Swipe every card, get gas, you don't have to get gas. Wait for it to say, get gas, hit cancel. And the reason why is because what does that do? Hits $1 on there and then takes that $1 back off, right? So it does the charge, but never concludes the charge. So, but what that did is that made your credit card active. And then bank accounts. I have bank accounts with every major bank, U.S. banks, Chase, etc. And I keep, just $50 in that account, whatever. Well, instead of me having to get letters every year or two, I just transfer every month or two. I'll just go in there and transfer $1 over to that account. 6 months later, I transfer the $1 back. Then I don't have anybody bothering me, so I don't have to worry about the account dying. And the reason why I keep that is because then when Bank America and I need a loan, they go, well, have you been a deal? Holy moly, you've been with us for 12 years. Yeah, for $25. Yeah. So, but haven't done anything. So I'm some silver platinum thing now with Chase, so I don't even know what it's for. So, and some with my bank account. I thought I had a letter that they were going to kill my account. No, they transferred it into some, because I'd been there for like 8 years. It was like, whatever. So, what else about credit cards? Oh, the back end, the securities, the yummies about them. So credit cards, are they bad? No, they're other people's money. Learn how to use them, just don't learn how to abuse them. Don't buy jet skis, don't buy, junk with them, buy hardware. Go max them out at Lowe's and fix up your stuff. Put down payments down with credit cards. Okay, so I buy a new phone today. If I buy anything that I put across that credit card now has security and has a warranty. If I lose that phone, break that phone, smash that phone gets stolen. I don't know where the phone went. For most of my credit cards are 90 days. I can call them. It's a little bit of paperwork they have to send me because they don't like it. So they make me fill out a big old form. But once you do it, save that. Okay? Save it. And then you'll find that now all you do is send that and they put that money right back on your credit card. And that's also for a year on if it breaks. So I actually have warranties on almost everything because I just run it through that specific credit cards. And now if my fridge breaks within the year, believe it or not, my credit card company can pay for it. So things like that. And of course, stolen. Debit cards, when you run a debit, instead of using the MasterCard logo or the Visa logo or whatever, that's instantly drafted out of your bank account. When you call and say, hey, somebody stole my card over the holidays, which I heard a bunch of from renters. So, yeah, they always have money stolen about this time of year. So I have to spill to them, use the credit card option. And the reason why is because they insure that. So if something goes through, it's a phone call. It's not an argument. It's not a discussion. It's a, did you do this? Did you not do that? No, I did not make those payments. Cancel the card. Here's your money back. So use that. The other securities, man, there's a bunch of them. Travel insurance. So if my plane gets delayed, I go to the concierge at the airport. I get the printout why it was delayed. I send that to I go get my hotel. I collect that receipt. I keep all of every receipt I start getting from there out, including food, taxis, anything. And I then take that, call my credit card company when I get back home. They send me a paper. I fill it all out. I scan that and I send it off, and all that money turns back into my credit card. So if you have problems, you're not worried about them anymore because they're not costing you. It's just another day at the hotel. So, what else? Man, there's a lot to credit cards. Just concierge stuff. If you use travel stuff, if my Sapphire Preferred is a real travel-oriented card, so I can use those points because they're really high ranked points, and I can transfer them all through other clubs and get a lot of extra cents basically out. I can take something that's worth 1 cent and make it like 7 cents. So that's Bitcoin. I can also take so if I'm in San Antonio passing through, I can call them. They will find me my hotel within their network. It's discounted, and everybody I called told me they didn't have anything. But when I called, now I'm in the same hotel I was standing in. So that helps. There's a lot. I kind of forgot about a lot of them.
Didn't they used to, when you use your credit card to rent a car?
Oh yeah, the insurance. Yeah. Thank you. Part of the travel. Right.
Or when you fill out the form, do you want the?
Yeah, no insurance. Yeah.
You don't have to do the insurance on your car at the booth.
So that's $30-$60 you saved.
Save you all that money.
Yeah. So don't do insurance. That's just money in their pocket. Yeah, your credit card companies. Oh, and that includes towing. Now you're back. You got me on my thought finally. So you have towing. So most people have your phone, Verizon, AT&T, big guys. They're all you can call them and they'll send a tow truck, guy with gas, guy with the junk. Same thing with your credit cards. So so if you break down, they cover it. They'll cover a tire. They'll cover the labor to get it put on. If you're out of pocket while your vehicle's being repaired, they'll take care of the hotel. So all I have some of this on insurance policies too with my vehicles. Make sure you realize that. A lot of times your insurance policies were written back 20 years ago and they had all this nice fluff that they don't advertise anymore because it used to be about getting customers. Now it's about, everyone, the system has created insurance for everyone in cars. So they don't need to be selling it like that. So it's mandatory, right? So now it's just like phone companies. That's why they don't compete, because everybody has one. And it's about keeping the customer, not getting a new one. There's no new ones to get. So anyhow, I know it's a pain getting the real deal. Even if you don't do it right then, go back and read some of your contracts and if you don't have one, call your company, tell them send me my benefits of use. They'll have a real slim line. This is all your good stuff. Yeah. So, believe it or not, there's a lot. There really is a lot. But use credit. Everybody tries to think credit cards are bad. They really aren't. I don't fight when I think someone's going to charge my card. I don't worry about did that tipper is going to write $200 instead of $20. I don't care, because I watch my credit card statement. First off, it every second on my phone, so I know exactly what's going on. Oh, the wife just went somewhere. So yeah, she's out and about. So anyhow, so we use that, and I don't worry about it if I'm flying my drone and I lose it, because I'm going to call my credit card company. Yeah. So we forget about the benefits we have already in our lives that we're not using, and a lot of it's the credit cards. There's a lot there. They're really there to help you. Because it's in their benefit to keep your money rolling through their system. So that's a neat way of making cash too. Wish I was in that business. And overpay, another thing. It's really hard sometimes to do, but there's a trick with most companies. If you overpay, this started way back from a gentleman told me about it. He said, I used to call my order, call my American Express, make my payment, or send my check. And what I would do is I'd always add an extra penny. I was like, why would you do that? And he said, well, because I would end up getting platinum services and end up getting higher credit ratings and they would call up with, just in just a few months, he would start getting discount, lower interest rates, better credit card offers. And the reason why is because now the credit card company sees you as they owe you. And even though he would use it every month, so it revolved, you got to use them. They have to revolve. So if it revolves, but whenever so often when they owe you, their system takes that as a benefit. Now, it still works, because I still have seen it happen and work pretty well. Now, they don't allow you. Most of the time you'll go on and you'll be like, okay, I'll just pay it an extra $5 over and see what happens. They don't. Now, sometimes you can do it during the payment. Sometimes it tricks it during drafts instead of, e-checks. Who knows? Sometimes I can go to my website and it'll let me overpay, and sometimes it doesn't. But here's how you can if you really want to. And the best, it does work. And if you don't mind, you just purchase something that you're probably not going to have extra of, and just make sure you return that item. So when you return that item after you've made your payment, so you swipe, you're at the hardware store, you're not going to use all those, 2x4s, whatever. You go ahead and make your payment that month. It goes through the next day, and you take that 2x4 back. Now you got $2 on your credit card statement. So negative $2 is a good thing. A lot of things, negative $2 means you owe money. And I don't understand that either. I've been fighting that with my school system. So I get these deals that my kids owe money, and I'm like, it says I owe the negative 15. They owe me $15. And my kids are like, no, Dad, you owe them $15. I'm like, no, son, let me explain. Negative means they're in the hole. So I was like, this is what's wrong with y'all's class. So, anyway. So does anybody got any deals they're working on? I mean, y'all at hurdles? You need something, any kind of like, hey, I was thinking about getting into, or I had something to run across. Somebody wanted to buy, a little house, some apartments, some
Airbnb
Dude, Airbnb is cool.
seems to be the new thing.
Well, see, that's why I was hoping that that's kind of on the same thing. This commercial leasing thing is pretty interesting because, now we say commercial, but that's pretty broad. Commercial really means now, it meant you found a commercial and they put their professionals in, like their doctors or whatever, and they, stayed for 6 months, 9 months, and then went off from that fully furnished house. Now, why would they do that? Is one question, and then the reason is because when you're in markets like we are here in Odessa and Midland, and that's some more trends coming. So we have a lot of people moving in, and there's you can't get in an apartment furnished. You can't get into, and we're not just talking energy section. We have medical, we have professionals that come in, so they don't want to live at a hotel. And when they want to live at a hotel, even if they do the math, it's $5,000 a month, right? So why wouldn't they want to pay you 2/3 of that to live in a fully furnished house? And why wouldn't you want to rent that to them for only 5 months a year and still make more money than you did if you rented it out for 12 months at a normal rental?
Do you get with a realtor to do that?
See, that's the beauty of it. It's the whole system. And that's where I was hoping Christina could give us a little more insight into her. Now, I understand it's just about me hitting and calling and hitting and flyering and, advertisement, right, to find these. Or it's about me bird dogging, going out and, going and talking to energy personnel, whatever. The people that send me to their corporate who get me, to find out. I mean, we do it a little bit in our travel trailers, because they'll come and rent 5 places or rent a whole park. So we understand all I have to do is roll out to or find anybody and say, hey, who's your landman? Who's your, who's the guy taking care of your housing? And a lot of times, they're renting it from housing on site, but that's expensive. They rather put some of their people off-site. So it's just going and seeing these people. So that's the key, is if maybe she had something that even I don't know or find, and that's what I was after, is what is her process of finding those potentials. But this Airbnb is part of that. And we rent, and this is what everybody goes, oh, you're in travel trailers, but we have teachers, we have lawyers, we have doctors, nurses. I mean, and then we have, everybody from roustabout crews to guys that are building the sand mobility systems, the conveyors. So, I mean, we have a diverse, moms with single, families. Anyway, so elderly all the way in. So it's just a affordable living. It's mobile, and so they can move. And jobs are mobile. Most professionals, most of our hospital, 80% of their employees are all contract. All your doctors, all that are coming in and talking to you, they don't work for the hospital that they're at. They just are contracted. So they come in for 8 months to a year. Believe it or not, that's the hardest part, because they'll be calling us going, I think I'm going to lose my contract. Okay, well, just keep us up to date. Keep the property management, know what's going on. And then we'll get a phone call. Oh, no, the contract went through. I'm here for another 6 months. Okay, great. Right? So it's back and forth. But get in on that, because those type people still, they don't want to live in an apartment. They got to move all their stuff here. And some are only here for a month or 2 or 3. But the Airbnb, so let's say I rented that, and that's kind of our theory. I've got 2 houses I'm about to possibly look to do that. So I fully furnish them out, and they're real close to downtown Odessa, and then one central to Tanglewood University kind of area here. So actually right here. So anyhow, this is good for this type deal, and then we've got doctor capability down there. And I already had somebody come up while we were out there thinking that they could possibly lease it already. You know, they're in an apartment, contracted, her husband's a doctor, and instead of being in that apartment, they want to lease out the house for $3,000 a month. So I guess I'm buying furniture. Well, yeah, so.
Are you also paying the water?
No, see, man, that's the beauty of that stuff. You just go through depending on the length. But I always recommend if it's just going to be like that, just include it in. Now, here's something I don't know if y'all have caught on to. I don't know if this is real new because it seems to be new to me. When I called to get like the new purchase in Midland, I went to call to get the utilities kicked on over there, and the electric company goes, "Hey, I know you're wanting free nights and weekends or whatever, but we've actually would like to offer you for $165 a month, whatever you use, $165 flat." I said, "What?" I said, "Send me that in contract." So she sent it over while I'm talking to her, and I read it, and I said, "No kidding." And the reason where it says is because they have seen a track record of that house for 2 years that showed that it was around, I think, 150 kilowatts. Well, my leaser, he loves it. He's like 200. He's got a sauna going. He's got everything. It's 250 kilowatts. It would be $400 a month.
What company was that through?
Reliant. And that's who I strictly use. I don't have any problems with them, and I use them from all over this part of Texas.
Me too.
You know, everything's right there. I get these nice reports. They're, you know, if I have a problem, I can text to get things fixed. It's instantly known. You know, oh, lake's without power. Fix. And so, anyhow, it does help having one company. And he sells power. And if I wasn't on as heavy as I am with those guys, I would go with.
There's about 30.
Yeah.
You can go through, and the electricity, it's all the same. It's just the name on the bill.
Right. It's just leased out the copper.
Because Encore food is so crap.
But think about that. I mean, you know, and a lot of my properties don't all, you know, I have poles sometimes that just have power to them. So, you know, they run me $5 a month, you know, $8 a month. But anyway, about 13 to 18 cents a day is what a dead meter costs you. So every day you're just like 20 cents. So ask them, you know, next time next time I set up, I'm going to be like, "So y'all got that, you know, consistent usage thing?" Yeah. Because that can really play out. Now, if I'm not going to use it much, like, you know, I'm only at the lake house a little bit, I wouldn't use it there. Weekends work for me, you know, nights and weekends, because I show up on the weekend most of the time. I'm there through, you know, we're out on the lake during the day. At night is when we're, you know, using and cooking and doing everything. It's perfect. So I have like a $30 bill, you know, and we were there all month or something, so it works. So that's a cool thing. So if anybody else gets to use that, let me know. Next time you see me, that'd be awesome. I'd like to know if that's becoming something or it's just something I didn't know about, because that's a cool little tool. Even if it was yourself, if that's available, you might transfer it out and transfer it back just to get the rate and lock it in. You know, like the reason why is because I'd like to know it, because if they do that on my travel trailer part, oh man, we'll just cut electricity for a year, nice and easy, do the flip, and then we'll be like, advertise, electricity's unlimited. No, I don't know. Everybody gets a sauna. So, anyway, sorry for all the jibber jabber.
I learn something every time I listen to him.
You know, something I'd like to say what I'm working on a little bit in my life is thoughts. I've been working on performance. I'm my worst enemy. You know, either, like I said, I'm what my boys are. I either run straight in and think about it later, or I think about it too much and don't move. You know, so I'm learning that I'm not my thoughts. You know, I've known that for a while, but I really try to look as deep into my, you know, character, to my conscience, to my, you know, my subconscious, down to my character, my soul. You know, I'm trying to always tap into what I want, not what the world wants. And so keep this in mind. If you can keep your thoughts from being stolen every day and keep your focus, And what I mean by that is, don't let other people direct your day to where when you get at the end of the day, you didn't get anything accomplished. Have focus, have clarity, and if you don't know what that means, search it. Search it out, because that is the number one thing that everyone misses. And then ask yourself, what is the 3 things I'm best at? And be able to tell that back maybe next time you meet. Because if you don't know the 3 to 5 things you're best at, then you actually have no clarity in your life. Because if you're not understanding how good you are at something, then you have no idea where you're headed with yourself. So, anyway, thanks guys.
All right, thank you.